Okay, Ms. Maulia, the time is yours. You can start your presentation.
Yes, thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everybody. Let me introduce. My name is Maulia Gita Belananda. I want to present my article entitled Evaluation of the Use of Intrinsic Religiosity as Moderating Variable and the Effect of Self-Assessment System, Gender, and the Period as Taxpayer Toward Tax Evasion. This article was made with Mr. Rusmawan Wahyu Anggoro as my quid in working on this article. I immediately presented this article. The first part is about the introduction to the research. One, greater dependence of IPBN to research. In here, because the Indonesian government collects tax for the survival of the country, the tax collection system is carried out to calculate the amount of tax that must be paid to the state. And two, self-assessment system open an opportunity for tax evasion. In this case, there are three types of tax collection system. One of them is a self-assessment system. A self-assessment system is defined as a tax collection system that authorizes taxpayers to determine the tax obligation by tax regulation. The self-assessment system has been proven for better tax compliance. However, the system can make taxpayers manipulate data so that the tax is less, or it can decide the taxpayer do tax evasion. Bila et al. 2020 and Fros Yunior and Handayani 2014 explain that public's reluctance in carrying out tax obligation can be seen from the effort of taxpayers who do not register themselves, do not submit annual tax return completely and correctly, do not pay tax that so or collude with tax official. That will open up opportunity for taxpayer to do tax evasion. And three, low tax compliance. This is due to the fact that the taxpayer intentionally avoid paying the actual tax obligation, as well as the existence of conditions that are considered unethical, contrary to intrinsic religiosity, so that it can be stated that the lower a person level of religiosity, the more likely it is to commit tax evasion, and the lower the level of tax compliance. Evaluation of factors that can minimize tax avoidance provide important information for the tax authorized to optimize tax revenue. Other factors are gender and the period as taxpayer. Basri 20 and 15 explain that gender has different perception regarding tax evasion. Women are more ethical in making decisions because they tend to be more risk averse, while men tend to be willing to take risks. This condition can affect the perception of women and regarding decision making. Furthermore, in the old context of being a taxpayers who have literacy on taxation not only can act to fulfill their tax obligation, but also use to fulfill their personal interests. The next related literature review, and one are the Theonom theory of ethics. Human behavior is morally considered good if it is commensurate with God's will, and vice versa if it does not follow God's rule as stated in religious guidelines. McGee et al. 20 and 11 explain that in various religions, the payment of tax is allowed and encouraged. They show that if we do not pay tax according to existing provision, it is considered unethical, which is contrary to religious provision and to self-assessment system. Rajiv and Rashida 20 and 19 explain that the self-assessment system is expected to create awareness of taxpayers to fulfill their tax obligation voluntarily. That is, the higher the level of voluntary compliance of taxpayer in fulfilling their tax obligation, the lower the expected tax efficiency. And 3, gender, in this case related to risk and decision making. Like research Basri 20 and 15 explained that women and men have different perception in decision making. This condition is determined by the behavior of men who tend to be more willing to take risks than women, while women are more careful in making decisions. And the last period as taxpayer. In the context of taxpayer who comply tax provision, they tend to comply with tax provision to avoid long-term risks that can harm them. The longer the time as a taxpayer, so the taxpayer increasingly understand tax provision, both in terms of the benefit and the risk of taxation. And the next related research method, this one. This study used a quantity method. The population and sample used in this study were taken from taxpayers residing on the Java Island. The source of data in this study is primary data. Research distribute questionnaire to respondents using purposive sampling method via Google Form and selected by following criteria. And 1, respondents are taxpayers who have tax ID. And 2, the taxpayer reside on the Java Island. And 3, the period as taxpayer at least 1 year. And then data analysis using moderated regression analysis, where hypothesis testing separated between the main effect test and the moderating effect test. And then variable measurement. The study used the self-assessment system variable, gender, period as taxpayer, intrinsic religiosity, and tax evasion. Measurement of self-assessment system variable adapting from Therapy 20 and 16 and Atmoko 20 and 21. And the gender variable measured using a variable, a dummy variable. The variable of intrinsic religiosity and tax evasion adapt the result of Atmoko 20 and 21, and the period as taxpayer measured using dummy variable. And the next, the following is the regression equation of this study. For 1, main effect test, and for 2, moderation effect test. All variables have met the reliability test and the classical assumption requirement. And the model fit with the data can explain 25% dependent variable variability. The next is discussion. For 1, supported hypothesis is hypothesis 1. That the effectiveness of the self-assessment system have a negative and significant effect on tax evasion. This means the more effective the self-assessment system, the less taxpayer need to undertake tax evasion. And then the implementation of a self-assessment system make it easy for taxpayer to calculate, collect, and report their tax payable. And then unsupported hypothesis are hypothesis 2, 3, 4, and 5, where for 1, gender does not affect on tax evasion because that women and men behave ethically or unethically regardless of gender. This condition can be interpreted that women and men behave ethically or unethically regardless of gender. And 2, the longer period as a taxpayer does not affect on tax evasion action because the action to fulfill the interest depend on the moral behavior of the taxpayer. And 3, interaction coefficient between gender and intrinsic religiosity not significant. This means that male and female taxpayer will behave ethically without considering the social value. And the last, intrinsic religiosity moderate the effect of the period as a taxpayer toward tax evasion is not supported. This is because to improve taxpayer compliance, what is needed is taxpayer awareness. Where understanding of tax provision is necessary to raise awareness of taxpayer. The next is conclusion in the research. This one, this study failed to support the moderating role of intrinsic religiosity toward tax evasion. And two, the self-assessment system to have a negative effect on tax evasion. And three, taxpayers have behaved ethically regardless of their religious value. And the limitation and suggestion, for one, caution is needed in generalizing the finding further research, and two, can add variables such as source of income and love of money. And three, another suggestion is to add sample characteristic or sample variation with a weather domicile area so that better research will be obtained. That's all from the end of my presentation. If you have any question or any conclusion, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Very interesting presentation. Okay, anyone? Do you have any question or comment for Mrs. Maulia Regita? Okay, Ms. Maulia Regita, I have the same question for you regarding about how much your respondent, and then yeah, I think it's the first, how much your respondent, because it's very important for quantitative methods.
The sample in the research is 106.
106, okay,
Yes.
and you only in Java, right?
Yes.
So why you not only, because 106 is very small sample, right? Why you not only like the example only one region or one city? I think is more acceptable, because in Java we know more than 10 million people live in Java, and 106 is less than one. I mean less than 0.05 or less than 5 or less than 1%. I think. So why you not only focus in one district with your small sample? I think it's more better than you generate the people in Java Island with only 106 people. I think it's very hard for me for accept that. Or maybe in one, like the spell one institution, I think it's more better.
Why I choose a respondent on the Java Island? Because the important reason for using taxpayer on the island of Java is most the KPP that managed to achieve the target or exceed 100% revenue came from office domicile in Java.
I mean about the number, madam. I mean like the example, why you not in one KPP, like the example, because in quantitative is about generalization. So we try to generate about the people in one Java, correct? I think your sample is not enough. I think 106 for generate in one island is not enough, madam. Yeah, I'm sorry to say, but this for improve your research in the future.
Yes.
Yeah, I think better you focus in like the example only, like the example one KPP. I know the KPP because I'm Indonesian people. Like the example only one KPP and have like the example like 10,000 taxpayers. So and you can only just take like the example, let's say around 100 or 500. I think is more acceptable. So you can tell to everyone about the research only just in one KPP. So I think it's more objective than only 106 respondent for one Java island, because the population in Java island is very lot, right? It's not enough only just 106 sample. That's I mean, madam. Yeah, your research is very great, very good, but not enough sample. Your sample is too few. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You are welcome. Okay, maybe the other presenter, maybe you have comment or question to Miss Maulia Regita Belananda. Okay, if no one give the comment or
Excuse me, Mr. Bawono.
yes,
I would like to add the comment about the sample size.
Yes.
We try to get more than we got, but some of the numbers, some of respondents did not answer correctly. So the usable samples at that time only 106.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rusmawan. My point of view is, I think I just thinking is too hard for me for generate a million people only 106 people. I think it is my point of view.
Yeah.
And my suggestion is why is not more small but more objective and more acceptable. Like the example only one KPP because I know for direct get the data with conference like respondent like Google Form or something like that is little bit more hard, but is more objective. Is like the example the population like the example only just 10,000 and then you take 106. I think it's more better than you take only just 106 sample for a million people. This is my point of view. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bawono, for your valuable comments. For the next research, we will try to get more respondent, and so it will be more representative for the conclusion and
thank you so much.
Get a better result. Thank you for your comment.
Thank you, Mr. Fawan. I very appreciate your research is very good. Just sample might be the problem because we use quantitative method. Quantitative method is very important, the sample size.
Sure, thank you, sir.
You are welcome. Okay, thank you for the comment, Mr. Rusmawan. Maybe anyone have other comment or question? If everyone don't have comment or question, maybe we can continue to the next presenter, Mr. Andre Christian Sujono. Are you ready to present your research?
Yes.
Okay.
Permission to share my screen.
Okay, please. You can share your screen and time is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. Now I will present my research with entitled The Antecedents of Audit Fees Paid by the Trade and Service Companies that listed in BRI for 2019 to 2020. As an introduction, each company will make sure to prevent and mitigate the agency problems. According to the agency theory, there are some tools that can be used, such as internal control, and also the bonus and rewards for the agent. And the most powerful tool, of course, is the audit process. However, audit process divided into two categories. There are internal audit, which is done within the company organization by itself. And the next one is the external audit, which is usually done by the external auditor from an audit firm. As an exchange for the audit service that has been provided by the audit firm, later the companies will charge and will pay some money in exchange for the audit service called the audit fee. This research want to analyze what factors affecting the audit fees paid by the company, which is in this research there are a total of four variables that is analyzed, which is the board of commissioner type, firm risk using the leverage ratio, audit complexity, and audit firm size. Based on the previous research, we have already discussed about the audit fee. There are some contradictions and some research gap, which is found that complexity of companies does not affect the cost of auditing. However, other research also proves that audit fees paid the companies is also affected by the complexity of audit. Once again, this research want to confirm what variables that are affecting the audit fee paid by the trade and service companies in 2019 to 2020. The literature review first is the agency theory, which proclaimed by Jensen and McLean, that stated how in a big company there is usually a conflict of interest between principal and agent that may trigger the agency problem. One of the agency costs which is used to mitigate the agency problem is the audit. So OJK has also regulated the need of audit for its public companies in Indonesia. Next is the audit and audit fees. Audit service provided by the audit firms. Later, the audit firms will charge some fee for the audit service, which is the definition of audit fee. Next is the relation of Board of Commissioners and audit fee. Board of Commissioners has been regulated in POJK 33, which has the function of supervisory and also directing. That with the supervision from the Board of Commissioners may reduce the audit fee because the quality of the financial statements has been maintained and supervised by the Board of Commissioners. Next is the audit complexity. The more complex the audit process usually may increase the duration of the audit process done by the external auditors. That the longer the duration of an audit may increase the audit fee paid by the company. Next is the firm risk. Usually, if the auditors analyze the financial statement and see a higher firm risk, which is in this research is the leverage ratio, it may increase the auditor's awareness of the going concern of a company, that this may increase the audit fee. Lastly is the audit firm size. Big Four audit firm, usually the more reputable audit firm will charge higher audit fee than the non-Big Four audit firm. The research methodology, which is the population itself, is the trade and service sector companies listed in the for 2019 to 2020 with a purposive sampling technique. This is used because it is very limited for audit fee disclosure in the annual report, usually by public companies. In this research, there are a total of 68 units of analysis from a total of 2 periods. Next, this is the operationalization of each variable, which is for the firm risk. This uses the leverage ratio. This is the research model and the hypothesis for each variable. The discussion, as we can see from the results, that the significant F from the F-test result is less than 5%. So the hypothesis of H5, which stated that all the independent variables affect the audit fee, is accepted. And the adjusted R-square for this research is 29.24%, so that all these independent variables affect the audit fee by about 29%. And for the t-test or the partial test, we can see that the p-value for each variable, that audit complexity, firm risk, number of commissioners, and the audit firm size is less than 5%. So all the hypothesis is accepted. The more complex the audit process, it can trigger the higher audit fee. And also for the leverage, in this research, it is found that the coefficient is minus 0.26, which shows that leverage will not affect the auditor's awareness for the audit fee charge, but it can show also to the auditor how the company control and allocate their resources effectively. Number of commissioners has the coefficient of 0.16, which shows that the higher of the commissioners will also higher the audit fee, because that number of commissioners increase, the more supervisory that it may be there is a conflict between the organization itself. Lastly is the audit firm size. It is also proven with this research that the coefficient is 0.43. It shows that the Big Four audit firm will charge more higher audit fee better than the non-Big Four audit firm. So in conclusion, the board of commissioners affect the audit fee. Audit complexity also affect the audit fee by the more complex will trigger a higher audit fee. From this also affect the audit fee. In this research, leverage will not touch the audit fee higher, but it can show the auditor how organization maintain their resources effectively. And lastly, Big Four audit firm tend to charge a higher audit fee than the non-Big Four audit firm. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Very good presentation. For any presenter, do you have any question or comment for Mr. Andre Christian? Okay, if no one, I am curious regarding about your data. Your data is secondary data or prime data, Mr.?
Secondary using the annual report from the companies.
Okay, so from 68 company in BI, you use more than 50%, that's correct? Around 34, I think I see in your presentation, that's correct?
From the population, for each period is taken 34 samples, so a total of units of analysis is 68 companies.
Okay, so it's very good sample because more than 50% for population. And here I'm little bit have curious to you. Is have around 34 companies, and in one period in 1 year, that's correct. The data is yearly or monthly? The data you use?
Yearly, annually.
Annually, so only one year, that's correct?
In this research, a total for 2 years.
For 2 years, okay.
Yeah, 2019 and 2020.
Okay, how about the type of your data? You use cross-section data, time series data, or panel data?
In this research, it focused more on the cross-section, I think.
Okay, cross-section data. Yeah, that's cross-section data. Okay, so why you not use like the example like ordinary square, or like the other option? Maybe you can use like SAM. Yeah, why you not use like ordinary square? I think is very good for cross-section data. Yeah, and SAM I think is more better too, because SAM able to give you more describe about effect, right? The effect, and you can describe with the picture and everything. I think is more good for your research. Maybe why you use you choose this method for your research? Why you not choose the ordinary squared or SAM method? I mean, yes, starter, yeah, like SAM method, something like that. Why you use your method in this research? Thank you.
For this research, I choose the simple regression because mainly what I have learned from the previous studies is also using the simple regression technique, but it is a very interesting method to use the SAM analysis to see more relation. Yeah, that's correct. Affecting the audit fees.
Yeah, that's why I answered that, Mr. Yeah, and because yeah, for regression, I think 2 years is too small for period, right? And I think your research is more be great if you use panel data. You can use like the panel VAR or something like that. But 2 years is not enough, I know. So the choice is SAM. SAM is great choice. And the other one, I curious about the R square. Do you have checked your fit of the models? Because your R square is very small. I worry your model is not fit.
I have checked the using Excel analysis, using the Excel program to analyze the good of fit test.
Okay, and no problem for everything.
Not a very. It is past the significance.
Yeah, I mean, because in the model, the fit of model, the R square is very important for see the fit of model. If too higher, maybe we can trap in the multicollinarities, but too small, we can trap is not fit as model. Yeah, because R square is about we talk about the alpha, like error term. If the alpha too higher, more than 50% is very, is dangerous, right? Yeah, that's why for my suggestion, please recheck your fit of model. And the second one, maybe you can use the SAM analysis. It's more better for your result, and your result is good. This is my suggestion. Maybe you can discuss with your college. Thank you, Mr. Andre Christian.
Thank you for the recommendation.
You are welcome. Okay. Anyone, do you have question or comment for Mr. Christian presentation? I mean, sorry. Okay. If no one have comment or question to Mr. Andre Christian Sujono, the last presenter is, I'm sorry if I'm wrong for spelling, Mrs. G.K. Feliana. Are you here? Miss G.K. Feliana, or maybe can I call you Miss Feliana? I think more easy for me.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe the presenter will be the first author. The first author is Miss Ella Rahayu. So
okay.
I'm the second and corresponding author. Okay. Ella Rahayu, yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
You are welcome, Miss Feliana. Miss Ella Rahayu, the time is yours. Are you ready for presenting your research?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, you can share your presentation and time is yours. Thank you.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity that has given to us to be presenters in this session. Today, we will present our article entitled The Time Horizon of Corporate Governance Effect on Firm Performance and the Role of Corporate Secretary, a study of Indonesia-listed financial firms. The author team is me, Ella Rahayu, and Ms. Yike Veliana. The background of this study is the importance of corporate governance. Corporate governance is an important issue discussed in the economic crisis that hit Indonesia in 1997-1998. It is still an important issue today because poor corporate governance can be the cause of business failure. For example, Enron business failure, which has had impact on global economy. In Indonesia, there are new cases occurred. The case of default on PT Asuransi Jiwasraya and PT Asafi. In these various cases, I see the need for monitoring function because the case was caused by corrupt practice under the guise of investment, bribery, and money laundering by the board of directors and management. The monitoring function of the company is carried out by the board of commissioners. The board of commissioners is assisted by committees under it, such as the audit committee and the risk monitoring committee at the financial industry. And from the previous study that I have studied, I found some research gap. There are the inconsistency of existing research on the board of commissioners and audit committees. Lack of research on risk monitoring committees, lack of research on corporate secretary on firm performance. I see that corporate secretary also have a role in corporate governance, so I try to relate it on firm performance. The corporate secretary was added as a moderating variable, which only moderate the board of commissioners, because his role is related to the board of commissioners, such as providing advice to comply with laws and regulations, and also preparing for board meetings. And the fourth research gap is previous studies did not find the effect of corporate governance on firm performance in the current year. I think that corporate governance can have impact on long-term performance. So the objective of this study is to examine the effect of Board of Commissioners moderated by Corporate Secretary, then Audit Committee and Risk Monitoring Committee on firm performance. The firm performance that will be examined here are firm performance in current year and the next 3 years. Literature review. This is the hypothesis on the study. There are 9 hypotheses, but to shorten the time, I will not explain the hypothesis one by one. Overall, the hypothesis is that corporate governance can have positive impact on firm performance in current year and on long-term performance, but especially on the Board of Commissioners size, I didn't determine the sign of the influence because previous studies have different conclusion. Some find positive and some find negative effect. Research methodology. The population of this study are financial companies listed on Indonesia Stock Exchange in 2017 to 2020. The samples taken are companies that publish financial statement in rupiah, publish annual reports which contain adequate information about the variables risk in the study, and have a risk monitoring committee. The outlier data was not included so that the research data met the assumption normality. And there is sample split in this study. The sample is divided into 4 samples. Sample 1 is for examine the effect of corporate governance in year T on firm performance on the same year T. Sample 2 is for examine the effect of corporate governance in year T on firm performance on year T plus 1. Sample 3 is for firm performance on T plus 2, and sample 4 is for firm performance on year T plus 3. This is the sample description. From the total companies listed on the EDX, and based on criteria that I mentioned before, the total companies that meet the criteria is 250, and then divided into 4 samples and obtained 211 for sample 1, 165 for sample 2, 114 for sample 3, and 54 for sample 4. This is the variable identification and measurement. Dependent variable is firm performance, which measured by Tobinski. Independent variables are board of commissioner size, measured by number of board of commissioners, proportion of independent commissioners, measured by the number of independent commissioners divided by the total number of board of commissioners. Board of Commissioners qualification measured by members of the Board of Commissioners who have financial expertise divided by the total members. Audit committee meeting is the number of audit committee meeting in 1 year. Audit committee qualification measured by members of audit committee who have financial expertise divided by the total members. Risk monitoring committee meeting is the number of risk monitoring committee meetings in 1 year. Risk monitoring committee qualification measured by members of risk monitoring committee who have financial expertise divided by the total members. Moderating variable is corporate secretary qualification, which measured by total score of corporate secretary expertise by giving 1 score in each area of ability possessed, that is, law, finance, accounting, and knowledge of the company's industry. Maximum score is 4. Control variables are firm size, firm age, leverage, and liquidity. The research model. This study used multicollinear regression as a data analysis technique. And here is the equation of regression. And we are going to the results of the research. First, for corporate governance effect on current year firm performance. The hypothesis accepted is for 4B, that is moderating role of corporate secretary on the proportion of independent commissioners, which have significant positive effect on firm performance. And hypothesis 6, audit committee qualification has significant effect on firm performance. Next, corporate governance effect on long-term firm performance. The hypotheses accepted are 9A, that is board of commissioner size, which have negative relationship with firm performance. And then the H9D, moderating role of corporate secretary on the proportion of independent commissioners, which have significant positive effect on firm performance. And the H9H, audit committee qualification, and H9I, number of meeting of the risk monitoring committee, which have positive significant effect on firm performance. And I will discuss the hypothesis accepted based on the result. First, corporate governance effect on current year firm performance. Corporate secretary can moderate the relationship between the proportion of independent commissioners on firm performance. The corporate secretary acts as a communication liaison between the board and management to ensure the adequacy of information obtained by the independent board of commissioners. The corporate secretary also plays a role in regulating professional development to improve the ability of the board of commissioners in carrying out their functions. Second, audit committee qualifications have a significant positive effect on firm performance. The supervision of this internal control can reduce the possibility of fraud in the company. The audit committee's financial expertise can contribute to better monitoring and lead to increased conservatism, and also to reduce the possibility of misstatement. This can reduce the information asymmetry that occurs and provide protection for investors. Corporate governance effect on long-term firm performance. First, corporate secretary can positively moderate the relationship between proportion of independent commissioners on the firm performance in year T+1. The role of the corporate secretary in supporting the performance of independent board of commissioners is as a communication liaison between the board and management. Also professional development for the board of commissioners. So with this role, corporate secretary can motivate independent commissioners to improve firm performance. Second, board of commissioner size has a significant negative effect on the firm performance in year T+2. The reason is the effectiveness of the board performance will decrease because the sense of responsibility decreases within the increasing number of members of the board of commissioners. So the right number of board is a trade-off between the competencies represented and cost arising from increased free riding among boards. Third, audit committee qualification positively affect the firm performance on year T+2. The audit committee financial expertise can be a good basis for testing financial information. The implementation of audit committee's supervisory function will be able to assist the board of commissioners in providing better direction to the board of directors to prevent fraud and financial statement in the future. And the fourth, number of risk monitoring committee meetings has a positive influence on the firm performance in year T+1 and T+2. In the meeting held, the risk monitoring committee can provide direction for the risk management committee to minimize risks that will occur in the future to result increased firm performance in the future. The conclusion in this study are this research enriches the literature review of corporate governance, especially regarding to the corporate secretary and the impact of corporate governance on long-term firm performance, which is still rarely studied in Indonesia. The study found the role of the corporate secretary in moderating the relationship between the proportion of independent commissioners on firm performance. The effect of corporate governance on long-term performance is found in the study. Therefore, companies should pay attention to the implementation of good corporate governance today so that the firm performance in the future will increase. So that's all my presentation. Thank you.
You're welcome. Very good presentation. Okay. Maybe anyone, do you have any question or comment for Mrs. Ella Rahayu? Anyone, do you have comment or question for Mrs. Ella Rahayu? If no one have any question or comment, I'm curious about your formulation, Miss, because a little bit hard for understanding your formulation. Can you show to me again for your formulation, please?
Okay.
Formulation. Can you more bigger, please? I just try to understanding your formulation.
The formulation is divided into four based on the dependent variable.
Yeah, you use multiple regression. That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, you use multiple regression. That's correct. Yeah.
So for the first formulation, it's about the effect of corporate governance at the current year to the firm performance also at the same year. That's the first formula. And for the second formula, about the effect of current corporate governance to the T+1.
Oh yeah, show the future.
Yeah, in the
+1 future period.
Yeah,
That's
+1.
correct.
And for the third formula, that's the effect of current corporate governance to the T+2.
Okay, so two years after from the orange.
2 years after, and the
third is
last
3
one.
years.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right. Yeah.
In my curiosity is about the data period, because I don't see your data is annually too hard for me to how to regress only one period data. It's too hard for me to understanding that. So my question is, how do you use monthly, daily, or annually data, Mrs. Rahayu?
Annual data.
Yeah, because for annual data, how to regress like only one data, like the example 10, and then for the dependent data, like this was 6. It's too hard for me because it's from the regression, maybe we need to undecode data. I'll go for the multiple linear regression is like the example, as long as I know about the multiple regression is about like the something has stopped in the regression. So usually you can use some regression because have the different like the example a period like this, but is I think for the period data is little hard for me to understand how to regress that. I think maybe if the software is fine, maybe the software will be able to formulate that, but my logic is too hard for me, something like that. I think you have around 250 company, that correct?
Yes, that's
yeah,
right.
250 company, and then you every year you predict a different company. That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe Ella, can you show the sample split?
Yeah, I think that yeah, the split of the sample. Yeah. Yeah, this is so per years have different. So you calculate every years, or you calculate unity in the year, like the example, like the formulation 1, you only use like 2017 only, or 2020 or something like that. Because too hard for me if I regress independent variable only one data is a minimum 2 or 3, or is still undecoded, because the period is very important for regression. Why you not only just cross-section data? Cross-section is more logic for me, is more logic if the people use cross-section data with one period, because with the regression you use the okay, regarding the data, use cross-section or time series?
Cross-section.
Cross-section, maybe you can show before this, Ella. Slide before this.
So
this is the sample split.
Okay.
So if we use the current year is 2007 for the first formula, we also use the dependent variable at the same year. So
okay, so I understand now. So you use cross-section data, that's why you only one period, that's correct. So you calculate not based on time series, but also the calculation of the company, that's correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, okay.
Sir.
So now I understand why, because
Yeah.
in my head is maybe time series data is very hard for me because the period is here. Yeah, I think if I have I give suggestion, maybe panel data is more perfect for your research. With more the period, I think is more perfect. So you can give like describe a more holistic, not only just in the cross section, but also the period shoe. So like my recommendation, maybe you can use like GMM or maybe panel VAR. I think is perfect for your research, because you use the 250 company, maybe you can research around 10 years. So I think it's more holistic data I think is more good for your research. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome. Okay. Okay, everyone. Do you have any question for Miss Ella, or maybe you have the same curious like me, because I think I need to minute for understand, because I don't see the data is cross section on time series. So sometimes the people like me who don't contribute in the research, it's a bit confused maybe. If no one have question or comment, all presenters have presents. Thank you for the share your research. All of one is very good research. Maybe need more improvement, and I wish we can meet again in the future conference. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, sir.
You are welcome.
Thank you, sir.
You are welcome, Ms. Rusmawa. You are welcome, Ms. Saida. Okay, maybe everyone able to back to main room. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.